Alright, okay. Terima kasih kepada semua yang datang menonton pada malam ini. Tetapi sebelum kita bermula, kita buka forum kita dengan Al-Fatihah. Selamat datang ke siri keempat slot TEPEN Secangkir Kopi bersama Wall of Fame MRSM Typing 2021. Program ini berfokuskan kepada perkongsian isu-isu semasa yang sesuai dengan kepakaran alumni Razman. Jadi topik kita pada malam ini adalah ekonomi ke mana kita. Sekalum penghargaan buat rakan strategik ANSARA Typing, MRSM Typing semestinya, TNF Energy Sendirian Berhad Aman Media, Outpost Typing Sendirian Berhad dan ALKA Systems. Kepada anda yang menonton sama ada menerusi FB Live atau Zoom TEPEN, jangan lupa untuk tuliskan apa-apa persoalan yang ingin ditujukan kepada ahli panel kita di ruangan chat ataupun komen. Pada akhir sesi ini, jika berkesempatan, kita akan adakan sesi soal dan jawab. Pesanan penaja juga kepada alumni MRSM Typing yang masih belum mendaftar sebagai ANSARA TEPEN, bolehlah mendaftar dengan keahlian seumur hidup sebanyak RM50 sahaja menerusi portal rasmi ANSARA Malaysia iaitu www.myansara.org. Jadi, sebelum kita perkenalkan speaker-speaker kita, haruslah kita perkenalkan moderator iaitu saya, Iman yang akan menemani anda pada malam ini dari batch SPM 2016 dan Fazlan dari batch SPM 2012, kedua-duanya dari MRSM Typing. Jadi bersama-sama kita pada malam ini ialah speaker-speaker kita yang sangat hebat, iaitu Aiza Azreen Ahmad dari batch SPM 1991. Wah, panjang umur. Dia okay. Dari batch SPM 1991, ahli Wall of Fame MRSM Typing 2021, that is currently the Chief Digital Business Officer of Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation ataupun lebih dikenali sebagai MDEC. With a rich background in leading in sectors of finance and technology, Aiza is at the helm of accelerating digital adoption in Malaysia, especially for SMEs, which she will be sharing her insight on the topic with us tonight. Jadi kerana Miss Aiza mesti baru dapat masuk, apa khabar Miss Aiza?
Hi Iman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Inshallah. Hi, I'm so sorry.
Background.
Thank you for holding the fort while I make my way here. Unfortunately, I thought of signing off early from work, but I had phone calls after phone calls. But I'm here now, happy to be here. Happy to see your smiley face as well, yeah.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you as well. Such a dedicated worker Miss Aiza is to the country, of course, and the SMEs. All right, so our second guest is Associate Professor Dr. Ahmed Razman Abdul Latiff from batch SPM 1993, who is also the Ahli Wall of Fame MRSM Typing 2021. He is currently a pensyarah and penyelidik at the Putra Business School. So being a lover of knowledge that he is, he hails not from one or two, but three universities, which are Lancaster University, Nanyang Technology University, and Liverpool John Moores University. He is also a familiar face in Awani on the topic of economy, which makes us very, very lucky to also have him for tonight. So without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Razman. How are you tonight? Your mic.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Thank you for inviting me for this session. I'm really looking forward to have a fruitful discussion with Kakak Aiza and the rest of the moderators. And I'm dressing up for the occasion. Kalau tengok I punya baju ni, ada logo ANSARA Typing, and this is the shirt to celebrate ANSARA Typing winning ANSARA Cup 10 years ago. So the reason I'm wearing this shirt to show that I can still fit into this shirt after 10 years.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Razman, for always supporting ANSARA and also MRSM typing. Okay, so not to forget, within our midst are not only the speakers or us two moderators, but also the guests who are joining us today through FB and also Zoom. So just to check that you guys are with us tonight, we have a question to test. So who can give us the best explanation? So this is a question coming from Kak Aiza. What is digital economy? All right, so everyone has about 30 seconds.
Iman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yep.
I'm sorry because I was actually disconnected for a while just now. So I need to change. Yeah, I need to change spots so that everyone can hear me better. I just don't understand what happened. So you were asking me a question earlier on?
Oh, no. We were actually posing a question, the question that you talked about last night during the, yesterday night during the sync up to ask the audience.
Yes. The question is that what's their definition of digital economy, right? What they understood from digital economy. Yeah, that was the question I have. So yeah, I'm so sorry everybody because it was the connection was coming in and out. So perhaps somebody answered the question already.
Yes, somebody did. All right, so shall I read it out?
Yes, please.
All right, so from Muhammad Bari, who is currently a Form 4 student and MRSM typing. So he gives the definition of digital economy as Bitcoin being a digital currency that is upcoming and also very much used within parts of trade. So any comments from Kak Aiza and also Dr. Razman?
I let our celebrity, Dr. Razman, go first, and then I will answer after that. So, Dr. Razman, over to you.
I biasanya baca skrip sebelum bercakap. So bila impromptu ni, I reserve my comment.
Pandai. So you putting back the court, the ball in my court ke macam mana ni?
Rasa ada orang panggil I lah. So please continue.
Well, that's a very good attempt. I think, thank you so much for Muhammad Bari, right? 412 will be referring to your class, right?
Yep.
412 is class dekat MRSM. So I'm 411 before, so next door je, yeah? So to answer your question, I think, to reciprocate your question, Bitcoin is digital currency, yes, correct. But you tengok, cuba frame kita punya thought process in terms of apa yang kita nampak sekarang in this world, the economy, right? The GDP, the parts, the goods, the products and the services. What we have right now, duit is the currency, right? Regardless of the denominator. So if you think about it, Bitcoin is just one small part of our what do you call that? Our economy. So that's what I wanted to say. It's a good answer, but if I may instigate your thought process, it's just one part of the answer. So there's more around digital economy. I nampak gelap sikit kan everybody sebab I have to shift places kat mana yang the internet is better. So
no worries.
Keep it going. Yeah, keep
no
it going.
Worries. All right, so we shall move. So of course, within this forum, we do have 4 pusingan. So our first, we will start with the current economic outlook. So to freshen things up, I'll give a bit of context. Many companies, as we know, had to shut down operations, leading to a job loss for many others. Of course, without a source of income, it is difficult to get by for such prolonged periods, especially in these lockdowns. And those especially impacted are the ones who live paycheck to paycheck, or, in Malay, we call it kais pagi, makan pagi, kais petang, makan petang. So our first question, we would like to give Dr. Razman to answer first. What is the impact of COVID-19 to the country's economy? And what are we doing better than we were at the start of the pandemic? Or is the current outlook still as bleak as it was last year?
Okay, thank you, Iman. My question to you, Iman, are you okay?
I am okay. I am okay. Thank you.
Okay, so but then when Iman says she's okay, maybe physically she's okay. Maybe she just had a fight with her boyfriend. We do not know. So mentally maybe not okay. So when we ask about the condition of the economy of our country since last year until now, whether we are okay or not. So it depends on which angle or which economic indicator, whether it's macro or micro. So if you want to look into the GDP growth, of course, last year we have seeing a contraction, but the contraction has been slowing down, meaning that the first GDP growth for this year is about negative 0.5 compared to the previous quarter about negative 3.6, something like that. So, so meaning that we are getting better. The value of our export and import increasing. We still managed to keep our inflation at check. The latest one showed less than 4%. Before that, it's 4%. So, if you want to look from the angle, of course, it looks okay. But then, if you want to go into another indicator, probably it's not that rosy, the picture that we are seeing right now. For example, the unemployment rate still high at 4.8%, more than 700,000 still unemployed. If you look into the graduates, about 200,000 still unable to look for job, the higher than the last year. Last year, less than 200,000. And then when we're talking about the salary, has been reduced by 9% if you look at the mean. But if you look at the median, okay, it's about 15 to 15.6%, about 16%. And the salary decrease is across gender, across whether you are in the urban or rural area, whether you have tertiary education or secondary education, or whether you are skilled, semi-skilled. So we experience the decrease in salary, especially to be surprised, the highest decrease is among the skilled workers. But then if you ask the 50 top wealthy people in Malaysia, their wealth actually increased by 14%. Okay, so so it depends what kind of factor or indicator pre or post COVID. And something that I also want to share today, there's a news report saying that the housing the property supply in Malaysia has increased by almost 35% year on year in the second quarter. So it looks something like, wow, property supply has increased. But that actually means one thing, meaning that people have started to put on auction their houses. So last year we saw people lining up to the pawn shop. Okay, so they started to let go their jewelry, their golds, and now this year we started to see their letting off their houses. Okay, so so if you want to say whether, or if you ask me whether the economy is okay, well, like myself lah, my blood sugar 5.4, I'm happy because lower than my wife, but then my cholesterol is very high. Okay, so I will always emphasize the positive part. Okay, but we cannot ignore. Okay, there are many room for improvement, and there are lots of effort that need to be done. But if you ask people on the ground, the masses, I'm not sure whether they are that positive. Okay, so that's essentially my assessment, that we are not out of it yet. Okay, there are lots of things we need to do in regards to our economic condition, our economic growth, and I think that's why we have this forum, because we don't want to just talk about the good thing. We also want to face the fact that there's something need to be done, and we have to realize that it's not just effort from one particular party or particular organization or entity, but it's coordinated, consolidated, concentrated effort by everybody. So hopefully by the end of the forum, we will know what to do by ourselves, and also how we can get other people also to help each other.
All right.
Iman,
Right.
can I add on? Iman, can
Yes.
I add on what Dr. Razman says? I cannot agree with you more, Dr. Razman, because people selalu fikir yang digital ni is so sexy kan, if I can use the word with all of you. It's actually a term, an Aussie term, very exciting areas. And everybody keep coming to me and say, oh, you know, can create a whole new digital economy not replace, to augment the current brick and mortar economy that we have. Tapi like what Dr. Razman cakap, the reality of things is that even though digital economy rasa macam alamak ada app cukup lah, ada Facebook, ada Instagram, boleh buat digital marketing, but it goes beyond that, sebab some of the people yang we try to help, and masih cuba to help while I'm in MDEC right now, or even masa I buat digitalization, they have to relearn new things. They have to see things very differently. Maksudnya, kalau previously, I'll give you one example. And this is a real life example of a satay seller, Kak Zaina, somewhere in Langkawi. I will not take credit for her because it was done by my current team, but I wasn't in yet, but they were relating to me the story. So they jual satay, and suddenly MCO happens. And you don't go and buy satay anymore. You need to order. And in Langkawi, can you think about, you know, how is it am I going to get satay during MCO if there's no one can reach me sebab tak boleh keluar? How do they reach me? How do I sell my satay? So Kak Zaina had to relearn certain things. It's not skills. Relearn even her behavior around getting consumers. Relearning or learning, tiba-tiba kena belajar how to use smartphone for anything more than just Facebook. How to learn using Facebook to attract people to buy dia punya satay. So we saw this firsthand, and Kak Zaina is actually more of a success story, right? But sekarang ni, I have thousands of SMEs, MSMEs, even individuals. Macam Dr. Razman, you faham kot the word, I sebenarnya baru belajar menjanakan pendapatan additional kan, so that they can survive and dia boleh bayar bill, boleh hold on to the rumah. So digital economy, the currency, the Bitcoin, macam tadi Muhammad Bari cakap tu, yes, that is perfect, 100% correct, right, as part of the digital economy. But the whole entire premise of digital economy right now is basically relearning skills, learning skills, changing behaviors, tolerating behaviors, creating new behavior, creating new habits. So that's what I'm seeing for digital economy semenjak MCO. So sebelum MCO, yes, I was doing digital as well. I think everybody knows my profile. Tapi masa tu dia macam suka-suka tau Iman. Dia macam suka-suka. Dia macam okeylah kita buat app. Okeylah kita cari consumer melalui app. Or okeylah kita create satu website, sometimes just to talk about stuff. But now, the phone that you have in your hand, sekarang ni kalau kita tinggal duit kat rumah tak apa, tak payah patah balik. Tapi kalau tinggal phone, oh no, buat U-turn balik kan. I know you guys are no. So imagine your life is now in that rectangular, a small rectangular that you hold in your hand. It requires a lot of reconditioning. So I thought I add on what Dr. Razman cakap. The threat is real. The survival, existential threat. In fact, the existential threat tu sebenarnya kita tak nampak. It's a very invisible punya threat right now. Sebab kita tak tahu where to go, where to start. So I thought I add that, and I agree with Dr. Razman. Supply overhang in terms of housing is not really a good indication, which means people have to give up their houses, and that's not always something that we should take it lightly. Yeah, we should take it very seriously. Yeah, I thought I add on to that.
All right, thank you very much, Aiza, for adding that part, especially on the perspective of SMEs that actually make up about 98.5%, right, of business establishments in Malaysia. So because you echoed on the part of how these SMEs need to relearn so many things, right? But even being such a major part of the economy, they're also up against these overseas companies that already know how to digitalize. So maybe could you share with us how these companies can have a competitive advantage or can berdaya saing dengan company-company lain?
I see. Okay, that's a very good question, Iman, and I'll be very honest with you. Sebenarnya, we don't have a one set formula for that. We don't have it. And I must say that before, maybe a couple of years before, right? I get very sad bila we have more companies from outside establishing themselves and being successful. And we have startup yang kita the startup daripada Malaysians itself, tiba-tiba after 6 months or 1 year, die a natural death sebab they just don't have the financial muscle. Okay? And I see this happen almost every other day. And there are people yang boleh tahan and they can actually compete. And what the formula that they have, most times that I see, focus. Not trying to do too many things in one time. It's focus, right? So the competitiveness in the digital world is not about, dia macam ni okay, it's going to sound a bit oxymoronic, maksudnya nampak macam ada contradictory. Imagine what, from my observation, a company that is focused on one thing, kan? They start with that, tapi dia distribute dia punya reach. Okay, get it? So focus is like this, but the focus will allow them to go like this. So most times, those company yang buat macam tu, they will last. I give you very simple example, Grab. Yeah, they start with e-hailing dulu. Dia buat e-hailing saja. Sampai masa the taxi association marah pun dia tahan lagi. Uber ada competition with them pun dia tahan. Boom. Suddenly, dia bukan saja e-hailing, dia grab food, grab this, grab that, grab this. They build the whole entire ecosystem. How about anak-anak muda yang lain, right? Another one that I thought is a very good example of a digital company. Actually two. One is Reza Razali, who just created Kita Jaga punya app kan, pro bono. So he was very focused too. He's a good friend of mine. I'm sure dia seronok kalau I cakap pasal dia. So they start dengan point of sale system, right? One, point of sale system to make sure that transaction dia boleh capture. He wasn't into cashless, itu tak ada. Dia partner with people, but I just want to do this. And then he landed a very good contract and he's serving Petronas. So dia start satu je, right? So it starts with that, they focus and then they expand itself. So that's anak muda kita. And then another one is Katsana. If you guys have heard of Katsana. Katsana is by Fukaha, Syed Fukaha. I think Dr. Razman pernah dengar. So it starts with data analytics. Very quiet, very stealth-like, tapi very, very smart people here that we are talking about. Start dengan satu, tapi they expand. So Iman, I'll be very frank, I cannot find one formula. But if there's anybody who wants to try and go into digital startup, nak buat entrepreneur and whatnot, after kita belajar dekat MRSM typing, berapa Dr. Razman? 10 topics kena belajar. Sejarah lah, biologi lah, chemistry lah, apalah semua. But when you are going into the workforce, is either you can become a generalist but be good at everything, or you become a subject matter expert. So the focus must be there. I for one think that I cannot be a subject matter expert anymore sebab I built my career based on generalization, general things, right? Generalist. But I've seen people betul-betul succeed with a focus. So with that, I think Iman, I've spoken. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this topic.
No worries, it's fine. We definitely want to reach out.
Especially SMEs, young people going into business. Berniaga tu dalam Islam is satu pekerjaan yang sangat mulia, kan? Kita tahu benda-benda tu, we learn this in school. But we must also make sure that when kita berniaga, we are going to berniaga for profit. Profit is allowed in Islam, right? Then we plow back, profitable, plow back, lagi profitable, zakat, tolong orang, get people to be profitable. But it must be done right. It's not about just masuk business for the sake of, oh, I'm a startup owner, kan? Macam very exciting. It has to be sustainable. It has to be longevity. And at the end of the day, it has to be contributing back to the ummah. Doesn't matter if the ummah consists of just bukan Islam juga, you contribute back to the society. So I think if you have that formula here and there, you can't go wrong. Tapi kalau you have the formula, jadi startup, besok beli kereta BMW, then it's going to be tough. That's going to be really tough. Okay, I'll be quiet now. I can go on and on and on.
Okay, thank you so much, Aiza, for that. Now we understand we want to focus on SMEs because, you know, it creates a big part of our economy and thus creates such a big topic for tonight. So we move on to our second pusingan, where we'll ask Dr. Razman first, you know, ways on how to reach out for help, not just SMEs, but in this perspective of the general people, just citizens, us as individuals or whatsoever, and also ways to help others in need. So some of the current initiatives, I think Fazlan will elaborate more. So I'll pass on to Fazlan.
All right, thank you, Iman. So, Assalamualaikum semua. So, I will be the second moderator for tonight. So, for tonight, I think because the topic is so big, we are afraid to moderate alone. So, there's two of us right now. So, yeah, like Iman said, for the second round, tadi, for the first one, kita dah dengar on the current outlook of COVID-19, of the current economy, disebabkan oleh all these lockdowns and COVID-19 and whatnot. So, right now, we wanted to focus on for those yang need help, either financial assistance or non-financial assistance, what can they do to reach out for help? And then for the rest yang maybe tak affected sangat by this lockdown and whatnot, are still privileged, are still great, still like lucky to still have a job, to still have a constant paycheck month by month. What can we do to help these people that are in need? So I think before we start, I would like to cover some of the current initiative that the government or other government agencies has done to support the rakyat and as well as SMEs. So if you are aware, since March of last year, the government via MOF ada all of these different packages, either Prihatin, Penjana, Pemekasa, and I think Pemekasa Plus in June, and then right now the latest is Pemulih. So, and then they also giving within these packages, they are giving out different cash aids for, especially for B40, BSH, BPR, BPN, And then in terms of bank loans, so government via BNM, they bagi all this auto moratorium in last year, and then right now they have this under pemulih packages, this repayment assistance as well, where everyone yang wanted to apply can just opt in, and then that's one of the ways that BNM help. And then for SMEs specifically, they have this special relief fund, and then the targeted relief fund for SMEs specifically to fund these SMEs they are in need because they are the most impacted during the pandemic. And then for EPF, if you are aware, they have a few initiatives. It was iLestari last year, and then iSinar, and then starting next week is iCitra for the next 5 months. So we can continue to withdraw money just to survive another day, basically. So Dr. Razman, I would like to pass this question to you first. Do you think that this current initiative that had been introduced so far, does it help to elevate the burden on the rakyat, or do you think that this is only merely a short-term solution and it just like it doesn't really address the root cause of the problem? So if you would like to elaborate on that, it would be great.
Within 1 minute, is it?
Tak kisahlah.
Okay, so all right, since last year until now, I think we have about 8 fiscal stimulus packages, including a budget 2021, and I think government has give out lots of initiative and assistance to individuals, affected group, B40, M40, the SMEs, the micro, and I think the latest package pemulih also even covered some form of assistance to M40 and T20. When we can see that apart from bank moratorium, you can also apply for insurance takaful moratorium, PTPTN, PTPTK, JPA MARA loan moratorium, as well as having to access to EPF, iCitra, and so on and so forth. So when talking about all this assistance, of course, the reason why we're having all this assistance is because people just simply do not have enough money to spend or to cover the monthly expenses. And why this is happening? Because some of them have lost their job. If we look into the labor report released by DOSM in April for April, but released just recently, there are actually lots of job losses, especially among the own account workers. People are working for themselves, okay, macam gig lah, gig ekonomi semua tu. And recently when I look into the statistic on the number of working people in Malaysia from before pandemic, let's say February 2020, and compared to now, June 2021, the number of working people only increased by 33,000. So meaning that during the PM speech, when he launched package pemulih, he said the government has created 243,000 new jobs, but essentially it's not really a new job. 200,000 jobs have been lost during pandemic, and now we're just about to cover it. But then we have graduates coming in every year, so meaning that there are more. There's a need to fill up even more job, and because of that, when people simply do not have enough income to cover the expenses, so that's why we have all this moratorium, we have all this assistance. But of course, it's not enough. It's short-term measure. I have my own company, Sendirian Berhad. Last time we started with commercialization of UPM technology. We even under Cradle, Coach and Grow, and it's an app. But then we pivot to managing the software. We are supposed to secure a huge contract from one of the government agency, but then pandemic happened. Until now, we couldn't secure it. So So we suffered. We even had to apply for grant khas perniagaan, and we had to apply for program subsidi upah. But of course it's not enough. So in the end we had to merge with another company doing training consultation. And just now, a few minutes ago, I just approved salary to my staff. We just had the cash injection recently, and but the struggle is real. It's not enough to depend on the program subsidi upah. It's not enough just to depend on the grant khas. It's not enough just to depend on the moratorium because it's only 6 months. After all, the interest is there, and there's additional interest charged by the bank if it's a variable rate financing. And also it's not enough to just depend on the money from EPF, because for the ICITRA, actually, if all those eligible manage to withdraw money from their EPF and the ICITRA, 3 million gonna have almost nothing from the account, on top of the existing 3 million that already depleted the account when they withdraw from ICINA and Alestari. And then we have to take the fact that not everybody contributed to EPF. Those are working by themselves. The gig economy, okay, majority of them actually didn't contribute. So when we look into all this, it's a short-term measures, and the government also cannot simply keep giving all this initiative assistance every few months. If you notice, the debt, the federal debt actually has been increasing every year, and now there's a talk of increasing the statutory debt to 65%. Increase of 5% statutory debt level, meaning that government can borrow up to 70 billion more. But at the moment, 15% of the government revenue every year will be allocated to pay the annual debt commitment. So imagine you bring home salary of 100, 15 you already have to set aside to pay the debt. So we have only 85 to pay for the belanja mengurus. We are borrowing money actually for development expenses. So when talking about building bridges, road and everything, every year we are borrowing that. Okay, we have only enough money to pay for the government staff salary, the mengurus thing. So because of that, so what's need to be done? As individual, as the business, as an individual, we can restructure our financial, meaning that do not just simply wait for the moratorium to finish and then try to think other way to find income or not. You have to do two things. Either try to increase your income so that you have surplus, or try to reduce your expenses so that you also have surplus. How you reduce your expenses? You can have a consultation with AKPK, Agency Counseling Perusahaan Kredit, to restructure all your financing so that you can reduce this. And do not take additional debt, even though the current interest rate is very low. But remember, it can go up again. So and then how to increase the income by learning new skill, not the kind of skill where you learn how to make dalgona coffee during this PKP, but learning how to code, learning how to give a training consultation. I particularly like the program under MDEC Glow. Okay, so I memang kalau ada chance memang I puji the Glow, because it allows you to offer services, your skill, your your works beyond boundaries, meaning your client can be the whole world. Okay, so that's actually how this is actually what you should do as an individual. Do not just simply wait for the assistant, but learning how to actually earn some income. So as a business also similar. There are lots of opportunity. There are lots of training, engagement, event conducted by various government agencies to help the businesses to do the digitalization, to do the automation, to do the networking. I'm actually one of the coaches for MPC, Malaysian Productive Corporation, and also SME Corp to provide training to the SMEs on how to better market themselves, on how to better finance themselves. So the opportunity is there. You just need to go out, try new thing. There's nothing to lose here. Tak perlu malu pun, because the only way to advance yourself is by being bold lah, by being brave to try new thing. But of course, with the right knowledge, with the right guidance, do not just simply go gun ho without much preparation. So MDEC is actually very active in doing this. So I think after this, you all can try to follow or add friends to Aiza LinkedIn or Facebook. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Razman. So I think what's interesting what Dr. Razman highlighted tadi, macam Dr. Razman cakap bukannya semua ada EPF. So bukannya semua ada option to tap into that account. Kan? And I think this is similar to bank moratorium, to repayment assistance as well. Bukannya semua orang ada loans, bukannya ada semua orang ada. So I think the group of people yang memang paling impacted by the pandemic, could they even afford to have a loan in the first place, kan? So all this assistance are not really applicable to them. So yeah, so I think when I was thinking about this, like, oh yeah, it's a bit kesian lah for those group of people especially. So okay, thank you, Dr. Razman, for sharing your insight. So I think we can move on to Aiza. So we are talking about SME study. Dr. Razman ada sentuh banyak pasal SMEs, but I would like to ask you specifically, right? So how do we ensure that SMEs can survive this pandemic? They are kept afloat during this pandemic, and how can we as customers, as individuals, help them to help them survive lah, basically? And can you perhaps share some of the initiative that MDEC has done to promote online businesses? I am aware of the Shop Malaysia online campaign, so that's one of them. I'm a daily user of GrabFood and Foodpanda, so I am very aware of that. So yeah, but so can you elaborate of what MDEC has done throughout the year to help SMEs?
Okay. Thank you so much. I was waiting for Fazlan because malam dia macam, okay, I'm gonna moderate you today, tomorrow night. But it's Iman, macam mana ni? So I understand now. They switch kan? So very good. So this is how we collaborate, right? We support each other, even from MRSM Taiping, we always support each other. So to answer your question in terms of how do we keep SME afloat, I can say that at the government punya, where I sit in MDEC, right? This is the conversation that we have almost every other day. And I wouldn't say it's just MDEC. And thank you, Dr. Razman. Wah, hari ni you jadi my PR lah. We should talk later.
I'll send you invoice.
Yes, I know. I'll get my people to talk to your people. So dekat MDEC, this conversation about keeping SME afloat kan, I can say a conversation of hope, despair at times, desperation, and at times like, how do we do this fast? So that conversation has a myriad of emotions, right? Because nobody can actually come up with the right answer yet. But having said that, it is a tireless effort from people dekat Ministry of KKMM, where I sit, right? Constantly, people are thinking, how do we upgrade the infrastructure? How do we make people access 5G, 4G? How do we make it simple for everybody to transact? So KKMM is leading around infrastructure and also digitalization. Then we've got ministry like entrepreneur development and cooperatives. I've got great friends there, also sharing the same concern. They've got various programs, SME Corp, InScan, MDEC, MyNIC, my friends in MyNIC. So we always sit down and try to think about how do we do this. Everybody's getting creative to make sure programs are accessible. How do you get people to talk to us? How do we talk to them? So there is a lot of efforts around making sure SME always kept afloat. But we see firsthand how certain SME dia ke depan sikit Fazlan. Dia ke depan sebab dia fikir consumer first, and also growth. Yeah. So most of them ke depan because they fikir consumer first. So apa consumer nak? What exactly does the world need? So they create certain answers to certain problems, or they tengok certain problems and they start solving it. So some of the SMEs yang memang approach dia punya business macam tu, I can see that they are still standing or still afloat lah. So there are some SMEs yang I rasa a bit late in the game, and unfortunately we hope that they bounce back. So memang tak ada the one formula to save SME. Yeah, it's just that they have to think about who are you serving and what problem are you solving. So I can see that most SMEs yang have that mindset, dia boleh keep themselves afloat sebab dia dah capture certain segment of the market that they serve, or they're solving certain problem. Yeah, so that's probably where I'm coming from. Now, you talk about Belanjawan 2021. Incidentally, Belanjawan 2021 is my baby. It sits with my division, right? So I run the biggest division in MDEC. So Iman, power to the women, Iman, right? So yeah, I run the division, the biggest division. I have 4 areas, which is e-commerce, business digital adoption, and also data and digital infrastructure. I tak boleh nak ambil credit for Glow sebab itu under my other colleague. But of course, I will let them know how wonderful it is for you, Dr. Razman, and maybe someone like you, industry heavyweight, can come and talk to us about better programs that we can roll out. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you on that. So Belanjawan 2021, when we first rolled out, dia continuation ya Fazlan, because back in 2020 there was Penjana. So it went on for about 3 months, and the formula is to have local sellers onboarded onto e-commerce platforms, the Shopees, the Lazadas, what else? The Zaloras of the world. I tak ingat if Zalora is one of the people yang participate. So we've got 32 partners, right? Cashless also participated. We've got a mix of local punya platform dengan international platform. But this year for 2021, Alhamdulillah, there seems to be more local participation. That I'm very proud. I'm extremely proud of that. So which means that local partners, to answer somebody's question, Iman punya question, the competitiveness, I dah nampak dah local punya competitiveness rising up in terms of e-commerce platform. And to run e-commerce platform is very expensive, guys. I mean, I had the misfortune of being part of a failure in a place where I was working before, where the e-commerce platform failed, right? And we had to sell it off. So that Belanjawan 2021, what it intended to do, dia ada 2 part Fazlan. Satu part, go e-commerce. We onboarded sellers. Even someone like me, katalah nak jual something not perishable lah, nak cakap cupcake tapi tak payah guna cupcake lah. Katalah I guna another teddy bear.
Profil.
Oh no. Kropolet. Tapi Iman, I'm going to tell you real stories. This is anak muda kita. I can't remember, or I wasn't aware of his name. He is based in Kuala Nerang. So if anyone is from Kedah,
Iman
would know Kuala Nerang, right? Where the connectivity is not as good. Tapi dia jual simple products. He sells car air freshener, right? So at the time he started, he was doing it alone. So dia start masa Penjana 2020. So Belanjawan 2021 pun dia join juga. So dia jual dia punya produk tu on some of the platforms. So masa Penjana 2020 dia belajar lah macam mana nak buat digital marketing, how to do inventory digitalization, how to do delivery, to collaborate with someone to do delivery. So yes, last month when we were doing a few promotions around Belanjawan 2021, he's already making on average about 40,000 sales in Kuala Nerang selling car freshener. And now dia dah boleh hire 3 ke 5. I can't remember ganjil lah. I think I'll settle for 3. About 3 people working with him. So can you imagine that? So that is what Go e-commerce is all about. Giving opportunities, opening the doors for young sellers. When I say young, I'm not saying that old tak boleh buat, boleh juga. But what I'm saying is that this is like a classic example story of someone that was so creative and created the market for himself. He was very focused. Kan, car freshener je dekat Kuala Nerang. But he was able to bring back that revenue. So Belanjawan 2021, on one part the Go e-commerce, the spirit is that, opening opportunities for everyone to become a seller on e-commerce platform. Another part is Shop Malaysia Online. Yang tu consumer base lah. So Fazlan, you are contributing for Shop Malaysia Online lah, the transaction. So that's what you do. Thank you very much. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
And
so,
I got my 30 ringgit
to
rebate,
answer your question, there you go. Very, very good. So that's what we are doing at MDEC. So one part is definitely for SME, individuals yang tak register dengan SSM pun boleh participate with Go e-commerce. And on the second part, we are hoping people like all of us, kita plow back into the economy by spending on the platforms, buying things that locally produced, like the cerita anak muda dekat Kuala Nerang. So that's what MDEC is doing. At least for my division, that's what we're doing. We're creating programs, creating platforms, creating opportunities for not just SME, but also to individual sellers to participate in this whole entire digital economy. So I hope that answers your question in terms of what we are doing, yeah?
Yep, that is clear. But if I could just follow up a little bit then. I think this was covered semalam masa kita tengah bincang tu. What are the current barriers of entry yang halang all these SMEs from joining, from doing the digitalization of their operations, for having a digital presence? So tadi you cakap there's first the mindset one is one. Second is the cost, the high cost. And then apart from that, what are some other like barriers that prevent them from adopting this e-commerce and whatnot?
Okay, so we talked about the mindset kan. So it's really fear for digitalization that's stopping people. Sebab I think the lack of understanding that digitalization is an enabler. Dia bukan glamorization, dia bukan terlampau sophisticated. So that part memang barrier, right? Second part, in terms of high cost, I beg to differ, because sebenarnya memang betul cakap you Fazlan, but it's a myth, right? We are trying to demystify. We are trying to make sure that people understand sebenarnya to get into digitalization doesn't require thousands of dollars, but because sekarang ni accessibility dah buka, a lot of people can access, but knowledge and also training and also knowing which digitalization modules you want to start first, yang tu pun dah jadi barrier to entry juga, sebab you don't know where to start. So the easiest way, start dengan cashless dululah, kan? I mean, that's the easiest way to start. But having said that, digital marketing pun you boleh start juga, so that's also another way to start. So those barriers to entries are more around operations, right? But I think the biggest barrier of entry is having a strategy and making sure that digitalization is enabling your strategy. Dia bukan pergi digital dulu, fikir strategi kemudian, right? So you kena fikir that this is my strategy, I'm focused, I nak target this segment, and then I'm using digitalization to enable that. Okay, so that to me is the biggest barrier to entry, which by the way was solved by the story about the anak muda dekat Kuala Nerang tadi. So he's sure that dia punya target segment orang yang ada kereta dekat Kuala Nerang, Kedah, right? And then what do they need? They need car freshener. So I've got my product, I've got my segment, and I've got my strategy, which is really to serve the car owners, right? So that's what he did. So what does he do? How do I get to these people? I boleh je pergi ke kereta nak jual, but you know how it's like kalau orang datang dekat kereta kita nak jual barang, kita terus drive off kan, sebab you get scared. But what does he do? He got into the e-commerce platform. So essentially dia kira tapau habis what I would say the entire digitalization. He put it up on e-commerce, he got it payment by digital means, he got it delivered by digital means, and lo and behold, he's increasing his revenue or his margin, his revenue, but dia punya margin pun is increasing lah juga sebab you know the cost of sales is reducing. So I think that's the story that I can tell you. Barriers of entry memang banyak, but one thing for sure, the strategy and not knowing what it is the biggest barrier of entry to digitalization, because you get completely misguided kat mana you nak buat digitalization dulu. I hope that answers your question, yeah?
Yep, very much. And thank you for the clarifications. And I think the story that you told us memang very inspiring lah, because Iman and I pun actually we are from Kedah. I'm from Singapore. Iman from mana Iman? Jitra. Changlun. Yep. So yeah,
Penang, Iman, Penang.
So we know how far it is to Kuala Nerang, and to be able to tap into that 40,000 ringgit in revenue, which is very impressive. I hope like there will be an inspiring story for all other inspiring business owners to follow in the person's punya footstep lah. Okay, so I think we covered enough for pusingan kedua, and ways for us to reach out for people to reach out for help, and ways for us as individuals to help them. Right? So I think moving on to the third round, I will pass back to Iman, where she would cover the recovery plan and the anticipated economy outlook for Malaysia. So Iman, I will flash out this.
All right, thank you so much, Fazlan. So while we wait for the photo to be shared first. All right, wonderful.
Kau nak cakap lepas ni.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, tertekan.
Oh, all right, no worries. Okay, all right. So basically the main plan that was rolled out to get our economy back on track was by introducing the Plan Pemulihan Negara, which has, you know, as you can see in the photo, 4 phases. So currently for Klang Valley, where the economy is concentrated, is in phase 1, trying to quickly move to phase 2, where even more economic sectors can be allowed to operate by phases. So some people argue that by ramping up vaccination rollouts to achieve entry into phase 2 and subsequent phases, making sure more and more people are vaccinated, the country would then be able to recover or, you know, pulih. So Dr. Razman, I ask you this. What is the definition of pulih exactly, and what would this recovery phase era actually look like? And as an expert in this field, you know, what improvements do you think, especially that just now you were trying to echo these improvements, right? So what improvements do you think should be applied to ensure this smooth market recovery?
Okay, thank you, Mana. When you shared this slide on Plan Pemulihan Negara, you notice there are 3 main indicators for us to transition from phase 1 to phase 2. At the moment, I think we already reached about 17% of population receiving 2 doses. Okay, so we have actually achieved the one of the indicator that 10% population receive 2 doses. Para sederhana pendekatan, I do not know whether we para sederhana or but then the one that concern everybody is the number of daily cases. I think today about 16,000 to 2 days ago 70,000, 3 days ago 70,000, the highest ever. So it probably take a while to reduce it from 70,000 to 4,000, and then enable us to transition to phase 2, where we can get more economic sectors to open. And this is actually what worries majority of the SMEs. I think few days ago there's a news about if we remain in phase 1, and for the next few months, almost 50% of the SMEs will go bankrupt. And in fact, last year they lost about 40 billion. And on average, each SME lost about 35,000 ringgit on average, if you compare to 1.15 million of SMEs. So this is what worry people most. What if we remain in phase 1 for the next few months, okay, and is there a hope for recovery? So because of that, there's probably we probably need to relook at how we come up with this indicator, because if you look at the daily cases, 95% is actually asymptomatic or category 1 or 2, only 5% I think about the level 3 or 4. And maybe perhaps once more and more people receiving 2 doses, we probably need to look at the number of deaths or the number of those in the ICU rather than the daily cases, because it's no longer become pandemic, it's endemic. And when I think if you look at the daily statistic of COVID cases around the world, it's actually increasing. Even though majority of the world already engaged in the full vaccination, but the reason is increasing because they started to open the borders. They already accept that the virus with us. But if we have 2 doses, the chances of we getting a severe symptom will be low. So that's why they allow people to move freely. But we, as a nation, we have yet to do that. So that's one thing to consider. But then, of course, another factor is this Delta variant, meaning that if you open up too soon, maybe it will affect those population that has yet to receive even 1 dose. So there's something that we need to consider here. But if you look at the vaccinecovid.gov.my, the main website for us to look into the statistic, so far the only statistic we can see is number of people registered and number of people receiving the first dose. So we do not know the exact percentage of those receiving second doses, the use of bed for the ICU, and because of that, people are not so certain of how soon we can transition. So when we're talking about recovery, it's not just SMEs, the individuals. We keep talking about the government having huge debt, almost 60% of the GDP, around 1 trillion or something like that, or 800 billion, depending on the interpretation. But not many people know that during this pandemic, the household debt has reached the new level of 93.3% of the GDP, equivalent to 1.17 trillion ringgit, meaning the people owing more than the government. And we have this record of having the highest percentage of GDP in Southeast Asia, and the second highest in Asia, just below South Korea. So we are among the most indebted nation in Asia. So we're talking about recovery. Recover from the pandemic, maybe, but can we recover from the economic situation that we're facing as an individual, as a household, as a businesses? Our debt actually keep increasing. Government, individual, and businesses. I have friend who works in the hospitality industry, have resort, and the biggest regret that she has is to cut a loan to manage her businesses. But she didn't anticipate this, and fortunately now we have many alternative financing, not necessarily through debt, but through equity financing, like equity crowdfunding, approved by Security Commission. And we also probably have various other form of alternative that we can come up with, especially when we have so many fintech players, so many opportunity to create new form of financing for the businesses, not necessarily through debt financing. And so when we're talking about another form of recovery, okay, so here we're focusing on the individual, the businesses, and maybe on the higher level, the government. But something that I want to highlight here, Albert Einstein used to say to do the same thing again and again, expecting different result is insanity. So what exactly the same thing that we are doing right now to save our economy? I can see that, you know, for the Bank Negara, they just playing around with OPR, okay? For the government, just keep piling up debt, okay, or giving money. So so this is not going to help to do the turnaround of the economy in the long run. Okay, short term boleh, macam dapat dadah lah, dapat inject sekejap, hayal lah, lepas habis dadah menggigil. So we haven't reached that menggigil yet. That menggigil probably in October, November, end of this year, if the political climate is not stable. We have to, for the next few months ni, we don't have a stable government. This will disrupt the pra-budget in August. It will disrupt the presentation of RMK12 in September. This will disrupt the presentation of Belanjawan 2022 in October. So, and this will disrupt so many launching of new dasar. I think they just launched Dasar Agro Makanan 2.0, but you know, with all these uncertainties, so we are being left behind. FDI being drying up, the investors already running away. So perhaps we need to think out of the box. We need to do something drastically different. So what I'm talking about here is about maybe about time we reform our monetary system. I'm in one NGO called Movement for Monetary Justice. I think actually we want to call ourselves Avengers or the Justice League, but the name has been taken. So we just call ourselves Movement for Monetary Justice. MMJ.my, senang je nak ingat apa tu Malaysian Michael Jackson, MMJ.my. So but our objective is to champion the reform of monetary system and to aim for the alternative financing that will not put the people into too much debt, including the businesses. But we don't have time to elaborate more on this. But if you want to go to this website, mmj.my, there you will see lots of things that we are talking. We are part of the International Movement of Monetary Reform, IMMR. I'm also one of the committee there. But this is something that we would love the youngsters, okay, young people. I'm also young at heart.
Definitely.
Young at heart. I just celebrated my 22nd anniversary of my 23 years old. Okay, so but this is what I want to offer the challenge to the youngsters, to innovate, okay, to come up with the long-term solution to our current economic, financial, or monetary problem. I believe the youngsters can do this. Of course, you can innovate on many things. You can come up with all fanciful products or apps, but imagine you manage to earn your first million ringgit, and then the next day hyperinflation happens, okay, and your 1 million probably can just buy one Secangkir Kopi, you know, because of the reducing purchasing power. Okay, your money has no value because it's fiat money. So such a shame. Okay, all your hard work gone for nothing because we are operating on the unsustainable monetary system. Meaning apa, kalau perasan RM50 kita 50 tahun lepas tak sama dengan RM50 sekarang. Dan RM50 50 tahun akan datang pun tak sama dengan RM50 sekarang. So it doesn't have to be that way. So that's my challenge lah, my request to the youngsters. I'm looking at Iman and Fazlan, okay, youngsters. So that's why I'm not looking at Aiza. So but then there's an opportunity here for you guys to come up with the ideas. Okay, approach all these agencies. Let's do something, you know, really cool, really drastic. Because this is once in a lifetime opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Razman. Okay, so just to simplify up things, because Dr. Razman offered so many points. So one of it is using a different indicator to measure our change into phases and such. And then another thing is with regards to his Malaysia Michael Jackson website, and a call to action for youngsters to actually innovate and change the economic policies within the country. All right, so honestly, you know, we already are at 10:15, so we really much can't wait for the Q&A session. But before we do, I'm going to pass it to Fazlan, who will talk about the hope for the future.
Okay. Thank you, Iman. Before that, I would like to ask whether or not it's okay for Aiza and Dr. Razman for us to extend the time a little bit. I think we can stop at like 10:30, 10:35 maybe. If that okay with you?
Okay, I made a mistake of drinking coffee, so now I don't think I can sleep. So boleh continue.
Okay, thank you
Boleh.
so much. All right, thank you. All right, so so we have been talking about this like this bleak economy, this like the not that rosy outlook lah for on the current economy sekarang kan. But I want to end this session on a good note. So I want to talk about hope for the future. So right now we are looking at the current ramping of vaccination rollouts with help of, kalau dekat Klang Valley, we have this operation surge capacity to target to fully vaccinate 80% of populations by October 2021. So previously it was targeted to reach this target by February of next year, but because of this ramping out, we should be able to vaccinate at least 80% of people to reach herd immunity by October. So hearing this is such good news for us that have been like staying at home for the past year and a half now, like losing our minds or whatnot, right? So I want to pass this question to Aiza. Can we as citizens from this news and whatnot, be hopeful for a better future post-COVID? So will we be able to live in a future where COVID is just a matter in the past, and we can we still like resume our normal life pre-COVID lah, basically?
Very good question. I don't think we have to lose the romanticism of our life pre-COVID. Okay. And I use the word romanticism is just to highlight the fact that kalau dulu kita boleh masuk kat dalam kedai and you walk in, right? And you sit down and you have a conversation, you makan with absolute confidence that you go out from the kedai and you're not going to get sick, right? I think we need to be a bit more vigilant, right? So bukan sebab apa, sebab I think one day COVID will go because we have all these macam Dr. Razman cakap, we are doing this COVID, the vaccination, herd immunity, and all that is good. But there's not one person in this world that has said COVID will be gone. I have not heard that yet, right? And I don't think anyone would dare to say that. Sebab nobody knows what's going to happen. So do we get some semblance of life after this? I think we should create a different, everybody cakap new norm. Sebab I rasa semua orang dah sakit jiwa dengan new normal, right? I don't think it's a new normal anymore. I think this is an accepted normalcy to have COVID and us side by side. So what does that mean in terms of kita punya socio-economy factors, right? I think kita kena, bukan I nak, apa orang kata, nak propagate digital economy too much. This is not a hard sell at all. Just because I'm in MDEC, tak ada. This is not a hard sell. But I think there needs to be a shift, a mindset shift to understand that kita kena exist in a world where digitalization is going to be around for a long time and possibly the way to live now. Okay? So do we return to normal life? No. Can we create a new normal? Yes. And what will that new normal be? You determine what it's going to be. Of course, with certain parameters lah. Hopefully tak payahlah pakai mask dah kan. Kan? It's like, it's not fun to actually go and you. Funny enough, you know, I followed my parents' habit where they like to smile to people. So I've got 80-year-old parents, like my father is 83 and my mom is 81. She just turned 81 in July. The love of my life, my cool buddies, they're hipster parents, right? So I truly enjoy having them as my parents. So they like to smile. So sometimes when they're wearing their mask and I'm walking with them and I could see, and I'm like, Mom, I'm not sure if that person can see your smile because you're wearing a mask. My mom said, it's okay, it's the intention that counts. So I wanted to smile and they can tell from my eyes. So when you dengar macam tu, you rasa macam, alamak, when will come a day that my mom walks into the grocery store and everybody loves when she walks in because she just have this aura around her because she smile at everyone. Even yang check-out counter pun dah kenal dia dah, macam suka, sayang sangat kat dia. So I think if there's anything that I want, is the human connection again, Fazlan. I don't want, I don't mind not having the luxury of lepak kat mama. I don't do that pun kan, but it's okay. I don't need the luxury of walking into a restaurant, makan, all that. But I just want the human connection balik. I just want to be able to probably one day see Iman and be able to hug her. Sekarang ni pun, oh, stop. You know what I'm saying? If I see Iman right now, it's like, pause. And I miss that. Even when my brother came for a visit, my niece just got married. Sorry lah to tell you all these family stories because I'm a family person. Even to hug my brother yang dah tested, yang dah 2 kali dos pergi swab test, all positive, all negative. Even to hug him, I you become like, can I do, that sort of thing. So you hesitate. So I hope to get that human connection balik. And I feel that we all should work towards human connection, not having the same lifestyle. If we go on that first and work together to get that back, inshallah, we will learn new lifestyle and inshallah, we will be far happier than what we had before. So kita kena fikir balik lah kenapa kita dapat in a way musibah kan in a way. So I think let's take this to kind of get closer to Allah, I feel that's probably one thing that I learned. Bukan I'm not trying to jadi ustazah or anything, but I'm just relating my personal experience. When I lost that human connection, I need to supplement that with a different connection. So I think that's where I'm coming from in terms of normalcy in life. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it is. That's a very good point. Thank you for the sharing. And I think I would like to I think you said human connections can. And funny story. I think because I've been living in a rental for the past. So I've been living alone for the past one year and a half since lockdown, and because I've been working from home as well, so I've been living alone by myself basically. And I think because of that, I've been volunteering more for ANSARA. Yeah, this is my way of getting some sort of human connection. Like even though virtually, I think that's more than enough for me. So just to cope with the situation and whatnot lah. So yeah, I think memang personal human connection memang very important, and I think that's something that we have been longing for a long time now. And I hope things would recover soon. And things would change and we will adapt to the accepted normalcy as you have said earlier. So thank you for that. Thank you for the sharing. I think right now we have covered all 4 rounds that we have planned so far. So if we can move to the next round, which is the Q&A session, and we don't really have a lot of questions, but I think there's one question from Facebook that I saw earlier. It was a very interesting question. So I think I can just read the question first. So this is from Akif Jamal. So he's a BNM scholar. So he will be going to LSE in September, I think. So hi Akif. So hi, recently Kasam was announced as Malaysia's first tech unicorn. So my question is, what can or should we do to build an ecosystem to support these new startups and to build incentive for them to stay in Malaysia? Because if you are aware of cases like Grab, so they started in Malaysia, but then they've moved their headquarters to Singapore, where we're a bit more like because I think they felt that the Malaysia is not really does not support them enough as Singapore did. And then I am aware there are a few more unicorns in Singapore, and like Razer, I think Secret Lab also is there, and a few more in Indonesia. But then in Malaysia is something that we are lacking. So I think this is a question more to Aiza. If you could elaborate more on this. So do we have a strong ecosystem right now to support the startups? And like if not, like what can we do to push for this?
Dia bukan Dr. Razman ke nak jawab soalan tu?
I nak kena top up my coffee. So tolong jawab dulu.
Itulah answer like a true millennial. Dia millennial sebenarnya Dr. Razman ni. Very good, very good. So a very good question, Akif. What can we do or should we do to build an ecosystem? Sebenarnya, to be honest with you, the ecosystem is there, right? We've got quite a number of VCs in Malaysia. We've got also quite a number of VC daripada overseas yang datang kat Malaysia. We have also a grant system, which I'm not a fan of. I don't think. I mean, we can start off with grant, but we have to be very careful not to create grant entrepreneurs, right? But I think what's missing when it comes to the reason why Grab goes to Singapore, to be honest, they tried here first, but the concept of what they are trying at that point, it was so difficult to be understood. I mean, someone comes to you and cakap, hey, you nak jadi driver tak? You use your car to jadi driver and dapat duit. Of course, you know, people would say, no, my car is my car. I'm not going to give it to anybody. Another one, Airbnb. Someone comes to you and cakap, can you open your door and let someone stay in your house and you can stay somewhere else? Tapi kat sini orang panggil homestay. But Airbnb was a concept. So I think what is lacking in Malaysia, and we are already trying to correct that behavior or that perception, is that when something is being proposed and it is not fitting in the cultural sense of something that is acceptable services and products, what we need to do is listen first, internalize, and then look at the value proposition. And I'm telling you this from real life examples that I'm giving you just now, right? It's about what's missing. And I was in Axiata, you guys know that. I was part of the whole entire, when I was there, you know, there were VCs that were coming to Axiata to invest. And I'm sure you read dalam papers and medias who are the people investing. So why do they come to Axiata? Does Axiata really need money? It's Axiata, kan? It's large, right? But they come to Axiata because the confidence of something to be delivered. So benda tu sebenarnya, while it's good on paper, but it's taking away the opportunity for other smaller players to get VC funds. You see? So I think the ecosystem dah ada, Akif. Cuma from our side, the VCs Malaysia, angel investors in Malaysia, the one thing diorang kena ada is listening skills. Because that is the thing yang bagi people turn away, because I've got so many startups that pitch to me even when I was in Axiata. Sekarang lagi lah. Right? And must understand, in this part of the world, kalau kita nak letak kita punya startups to pitch against a startup in the US, just because they can speak English with an accent and they can speak fast, that doesn't mean that their product is much superior than what we have. Yes, of course, we are Asians. We've got language barriers. And tak ada salah kalau ada Manglish punya accent. Apa yang salahnya? There's nothing wrong having a bit of a Penang punya accented English ke, Terengganu accented English ke, Kelantanis accented English ke, Negeri Sembilan accented English ke. There's nothing wrong with that because you are delivering something. But I feel that the ecosystem needs to be a little bit more adaptable to the language yang you might not feel is sophisticated enough. Have you ever heard French people pitch their business? You will go like, say that again. But because colonized punya mindset kan, kalau mata biru, rambut blonde, terror. You know where I'm coming from? So
Yep.
I think as a society, we have to start doing that. Listen more. And this, I hope some VCs will listen to this in FB, try and promote this. That needs to happen. Listen first to their value proposition. And by the same token, people at the government pun kena do the same thing. Right? Dekat MDEC, you know how terrible my schedule is. I think Iman knows. It was very difficult for me to respond to her sebab nak respond tiba-tiba sibuk. But right now I have this habit together with my other colleagues, whomever that comes, we will listen first. And try dulu tengok, okay, boleh tak? Pak. Kalau tak boleh sangat, and then we have to say, maybe not here, but we will help you find somewhere else. Macam Dr. Razman cakap tadi, there's so many pemulih lah and everything. There's also penjana, capital, that has the VCs. So the help is there, Akif, but it's really about human punya, the limitation of human perception and understanding that is that is encroaching on the growth of our ecosystem to create unicorns. Macam, okay, last words, yeah? Sorry, I can be very passionate about this part, so I'm just gonna control myself. In Silicon Valley, you will not be taken seriously unless you have 2 failed startups.
Wow.
And then you go to the third one and you shoot for the stars. Dekat Malaysia, you have 1 failed startup, you give up. Maybe we need to change that mindset around the startup punya environment juga. So I thought that everybody can take that and run with it. What I just said, give some oxygen to that concept that I'm saying, that don't be so afraid of failure, be a good listener, and then improve on your delivery skills. Again, when improving, it's not about boleh cakap English terror, but it's really about points. 3 things, people go away and say, yep, I'm going to invest with this guy because he knows his strategy or she knows his strategy. Dia tahu dia punya segment, and this is how they're going to capitalize on that. So yeah, I hope Akif I answer your question. By the way, Fazlan, I nampak question kat atas tu saja je nak bully Dr. Razman kan. Nampak relevant to take economy and finance overseas and work Malaysia. Yang tu kita bagi kat dia.
I rasa Wan Khairul Nizam dah angkat tangan. Wan Khairul Nizam dah angkat tangan. Mungkin dia nak tanya.
Dipersilakan Wang Kai.
Yeah.
Alright, Assalamualaikum. My name is Wan Khairul. I'm a teacher here in MSM Taiping, but I'm also an ANSARA Taiping, SPM 06. Sorry to derail a bit from the topic that you've both of the speakers talk about, but maybe there is a concerning issue about our supposedly bloated government sector, the traditional sectors, you know, the healthcare, and the teachers, nurses, those people are considered government servants, and they supposedly we have the idea that the pension system is not really sustainable in the long run for the country. So I would like to know about what is the possible approaches that the government should do, for example, privatization or anything. The second one, that's the second question that I have is that in terms of for our kids, my students from 13 to 17 years old, what kind of content or medium or approaches that we teachers should talk about or in promoting a better module or better approaches to entrepreneurship in this country? Right, thank you very much.
Thank you. So Wangkai, if Dr. Razman would like to start, feel free.
I answer the first part, Aiza rasa sesuai. Second part tu sebab dia entrepreneur kan. Okay. So thank you Wan Carol for congrats also for kata contributing back lah to ANSARA typing graduate kat situ dan jadi cikgu kat situ. Okay, with regards to the bloated government server, whether the government can afford it or not, it's quite it's not a straightforward solution to this. Okay, there are kata multi layers reason why we have such a bloated government servant in terms of numbers, and also the pension scheme. We used to have the best pension scheme in the world, because at the time, I still remember when I was a government servant, we do not even have to contribute, but we're going to get the pension anyway. But nowadays, I think we have to have some contribution. I'm no longer a government servant, by the way. I retired, not retired, resigned. So with regards of that question, okay, the reason why we feel that government cannot afford to pay for the salary or to sustain a huge number of government servants, because of, like I said before, the way we manage our monetary system. The money in your pocket, the paper money, the coins inside your pocket only represent about 5 to 6% of the credit circulated. Okay, money pocket to M0. I think we have about 128 billion worth of paper money being circulated in the market, but it's only represent 5%. Majority M1, M2 apa ni semua actually credit created when commercial bank lending the money. Okay, what's this guys to do with all this government cannot afford it? So when the government can only control 5% of credit being circulated, meaning that there's nothing that can stop inflation crisis from happening, because there are lots of credit being created out of nothing by the commercial bank. So when there are lots of surplus, lots of credit, people borrowing, the businesses are borrowing, so they have lots of credit, then they start to spend. This increase the housing prices, this increase the cost of living, and this also cause the government to take up more debt, and as a result, unable to sustain the government salary lah. Okay, so unless we change this, we will never be able to afford to have such a bloated government staff. Okay, so and sometimes when the commercial bank lending the money to the businesses, not all of this money actually spent on the real economy, ataupun kita panggil ekonomi tampak. Maksudnya apa? Some businesses, they borrow the money to pay up another debt, okay, or to buy equities. So this doesn't really help the economy. If we borrow the money to expand, to hire more people to work, then this is real economy. You help to increase the liquidity in the market. In Malaysia, it's not. Majority of the commercial bank, they spend on just to help the other businesses to refinance themselves. So because of that, money is not go to the economy. So when we talk about that, the reason being the concentration of money credit or credit only to a certain group of people. We call it T20, but actually we are really talking about the T5 or T1%. Those that really hold the money. So when there's lots of concentration over there, that's what happened. The government didn't have enough hasil, revenue, and because of that cannot afford to have all this stuff. So that's like I said, okay. This kind of problem require dedicated effort to overturn it with totally out of box thinking. We cannot solve it with the current method or solution. And I hope, I really hope, if any one of you really want to know the real solution, what kind of movement or drive or strategy to overcome this, just Google my name. I'm very much in the public domain, and please follow my Twitter lah. My Twitter tak sampai 50 orang ke 60 orang. And then at least I rasa happy sikit lah to share my thoughts. So Wan Khairul, this is something that cannot be properly explained in such a short time, but we do have solution for it. Seriously, we do have solution for it, and maybe not over Secangkir Kopi, but over teh tarik session. I'll be happy to have that discussion later. Thank you.
Wan Khairul, hi, Assalamualaikum. Very good. You're a teacher, are you? Kan? I thought that's what I heard earlier on. Yeah? You're on mute. Can someone mute Wan Khairul? Boleh mute kan? Unmute kan? Okay.
Oh yes,
Yep.
I'm a teacher here. Sorry.
Alhamdulillah, very noble profession. Tadi masa you tanya the second part of the question, I punya internet was a bit unstable. Do you mind repeating to me again that question?
Maybe as teachers, we are concerned about the future job prospects in Malaysia, and we do notice that some of our kids still want the job security. They don't really fancy going, digital economy. But I do notice significantly more students are interested in such an endeavor. But in terms of us teachers, or maybe BPM or MRSM system, what can we do to actually, promote such kind of a modern, a more forward-looking entrepreneurship towards our kids?
Okay, so what you're trying to do is that bukan kata entrepreneurship for yourself, but you hope to create a bit of a program where you start them young to think about entrepreneurial or give them entrepreneurial skills, kan? Okay, I have the fortune of living overseas. I think you guys know that, kan? I had the fortune of doing that. So what I saw with the schooling system there, they do somehow or rather celebrate uniqueness and creativity in a child. So dia tak ada cookie cutter approach tau. Belajar yang ni aja, buat macam ni aja. So they do have extra co-curricular activities which centers around building the confidence of the children. Okay, so how do you immediate gratification in building confidence of a child? To put the children in an environment where they're coming out with their either talent, right? Kalau menyanyi ke, singing ke, dancing tu kita tahulah that's confidence level, but also to instill the confidence of conveying their thought process, selling ke apa ke. So we've seen that. So I don't know whether we can do this as a system, right? And of course, the education system kat Malaysia probably needs a little bit of upgrade.
Yeah,
but
I would say so.
Yeah. But if you want to try that, all these hackathons that we have at the level yang macam universities, it doesn't have to be hackathons yang macam besar-besar guna technology, but create that program where we can allow our children to think entrepreneurially. How do I create a product to solve a problem? How do I do? I think ada certain schools doing that, but I'm not too sure if public schools are doing that. MashaAllah, I'm so sorry. That's probably my shortcoming. I tak really follow. Sebab quite frankly, I don't have a child, so dia jadi tak faham sangat. But I feel that our system tu kena upgrade sikit, and perhaps Wan Khairul, start the conversation, because I'm sure you're a very young teacher and it's amazing to see
Not
that
really
you're
that young.
choosing. Kalau compared to Dr. Razman,
Yeah.
Dengan you same age kot. Dia lain sikit. I'm kidding. Nanti marah dia. So, you know, if you can start the conversation amongst your peers, your contemporaries, to really see programs yang dia kupas kan, dia extract that creativity in a child. Because I see that happens in a Western education. It's not just about scoring. Kalau kita fikir balik ke MRSM typing kan, top 5% SPM, wah, buat kenduri, 9 A's, 10 A's. So we are rewarding our children based on the numbers of A's that they get. And it's good, it's fine. But how about a more holistic human being? And not just a nerd. I was a nerd in MRSM typing. I was very naughty as well. Honestly, I was, right? But at that time, my naughtiness ni tak boleh nak cakap. But you know, but at that time I knew, and I think I was tolerated by the system in terms of my mischief, is because my results, right? I wouldn't say my result is fantastic, tapi for the amount of playfulness tu memang terkejut jugalah. How did she manage to do that kan? So I think that needs to change. We cannot just celebrate numbers of A's. We should celebrate what I would call versatility, the ability to speak. Yang all those things memang panjang perjalanan. I boleh sembang dengan you sampai 2-3 hari. I'm very, very passionate about education system in Malaysia because I had the fortune of being overseas for a long time juga. And I think my boss Serena, who spoke last week, pun sama juga. I think Dr. Razman punya batch. And we talked about this. We talked about the state of education. We talked about the state of our youth. And we wonder how more we can contribute. I have this a great luck of working with someone like Serena. And I'm not saying this because incidentally budak ANSARA juga, TEPEN pula tu, kan? But yeah, I mean, she invited me to come and work with her. And that doesn't happen often in Malaysia. So I think pay it forward, kita kena buka sikit kita punya mindset to really see how do we celebrate uniqueness. How do we increase versatility from a very young age? So thank you for asking that question. I wish I can do more justice to your question. But it was a very tough question to answer. Pandai Dr. Razman, dia terus. Aiza answer nombor 2, I answer nombor 1. Very smart.
Thank you both of you.
Yeah, but I think Dr. Razman has fantastic ideas. Dr. Razman, you better letak dekat chat your Twitter handle, baru I boleh ikut you.
Tak, dia apa, Taufik ke sudah letak dah?
Oh, Taufik dah letak, Taufik.
So lepas ni I nak kena start letak joke-joke bodoh lah kat Twitter.
Okay, I'm following you now on Twitter. Okay.
All right. Thank you, both speakers. I hope that answers your questions, Sirwankai.
Right.
Okay, so last question. In the interest of time, I think maybe I should go through it first, and then if the speakers would have anything to add, feel free. So Tofi tanya, is it relevant to take economics and finance overseas and work in Malaysia? Where can I go with that finance or economics scroll? So to answer your question, yes, you can study overseas and work in Malaysia. So I think the speakers are all living proof. So Aiza herself, she studied accounting and finance in Australia, and Dr. Razman, he studied accounting and finance for degree in the UK. I studied actuarial science in the US. So tak kisahlah mana pun, you can still come back to Malaysia and work. And is it relevant? Yes, you may not be able to learn the specific of Malaysia punya Malaysia punya act ke, kalau bank you tak ada belajar Islamic finance apa semua. But then the same theory will still apply. And then the rest of it you can learn on the job. So that's okay. And where can you go with the eco and finance scroll? It's so broad. You can go anywhere from any of the corporates, finance punya department mana. You can join bank, you can join investment management. You can see where Aiza is at now, where Dr. Razman is at now. I'm currently with Bank Negara. So that's the kind of places that you can go lah.
Fazlan, nak tambah satu je. I was born there in UK, and then I spent 8 years doing my A-level degree, master, PhD in UK. So actually I have a certificate right for both. I can actually work there. as a citizen lah kat situ. But then I decided Malaysia is the place to be because it's more fun. Okay, kat sana it's already a developed world lah. Maknanya, you probably going to do some incremental improvement, but here, so many opportunities, so many things to do. Jual car freshener boleh untuk 40,000. So kalau memang so I mean, this is land of opportunity, and we can do lots of things, and I think this is kat mana kita berbakti tu, kat situ lah actually our rezeki apa semua kan. So I think this is the place lah. This is the place for us to really look into ourselves, to really realize our full potential.
Can I add to that, Fazlan? I love what Dr. Razman is saying. I just love what he said because I had also the experience, dekat masa I literally migrated to Australia, kan. Memang tak balik lah. I mean, I cuma balik like in the years I was there once or twice. But my parents come over. So I was set thinking, and I'm even a PR. So set thinking, maybe this is where I'm going to be. I tak balik Malaysia lah, kan. However, exactly what Dr. Razman cakap. It's not just about small incremental thing that you can do and contribute tau. I just tell you a quick story. So when I graduated, I was hired by a software solution company, basically an Asian girl, becoming the subject matter expert for Australian taxation. Kan, because I love the complexity of it, and I was still in the ANSARA TEPEN punya mindset, very geeky kan, kena tengok technical, math, finance and everything. So I worked really hard, and then I went on into mergers acquisition. I worked really hard, and then my last job was Accenture. I worked really hard. If anybody says that you can do better overseas and you can be successful, I can tell you this: overseas you can have a job. In Malaysia, you can have a career. Kat sana, no matter how I work, like literally tak tidur 30 hours straight, but I will always just be either a manager or a senior manager. I can never be the top level management because there's citizen, Australian-born Chinese, Australian-born Malaysians, whatever it is, Australian-born whomever, and then you've got the PR. So literally, I'm a third-class citizen, no matter how hard I work. Tapi dekat Malaysia, I could build myself a career. I feel that I'm contributing something. And today, like tonight, why do you think Dr. Razman and I are still here at 10:30? I started my day at 7 something today, right? And non-stop calls sampaikan sekarang ni, right? Non-stop. I have to tell you, non-stop. But it feels that we can contribute something. So I'm going to demystify one thing here. If someone comes to you and said there's a brain drain in Malaysia, tell them to talk to me, because I don't feel there's a brain drain in Malaysia. In this particular chat room alone, I'm amongst the best brains in Malaysia, young or old, men and women, all these people in this particular chat room, I think put together, we have the intellect of maybe double, triple Einstein. So what is this talk about brain drain? Tak ada. But if you feel like going overseas sekejap, to try and learn things like what Dr. Razman did, what I did. Of course, I learned it the hard way lah. Sebenarnya, I kononnya nak migrate. But if you want to go there and learn and bring back the skill set, bring back the network, and become a global citizen in Malaysia, by all means. But never think that there is much better than here, because we are the living proof of us working outside and coming back to contribute. It's not about the job, it's not about career, it's about your contribution. Betul tak, Dr. Razman? Betul kan? I dah follow you on Twitter. Kejap, I tweet kat you.
I nak kena cari meme. Apa orang kata meme? Meme. Meme yang menarik ni.
Suruh Iman handle Twitter.
Oh, I'm good at memes. I'm good at memes.
Baru dengar suara Taufik.
All right. So thank you very much, Kak Aiza and also Dr. Razman. So we're already at 10:55, And before we do end, yes, amazing, very amazing. But definitely we do hope that with this topic, we were able to cover a lot of facets that helps a lot of our audiences that may be coming from an SME background or just individuals in itself. So, to, I guess you could say, crystallize tonight's moment, shall we take a photo? Yes, all right.
For sure.
Before we
Alright.
forget,
Oh, yes.
we would like to invite everyone to switch on their cameras and just join us.
I punya backdrop macam selling MDEC kan, tapi tak apalah.
Tak apa.
It needs to be sold. It needs to be sold.
Dr. Aisyah, Cikgu Aisyah mana Cikgu Aisyah? Hai Cikgu Aisyah.
Hai Puan Aiza. Hai.
Hai, apa khabar?
Khabar baik.
Baim tak buka lagi dia punya. Dia yang selalu semangat dia.
Ya Allah, bila Puan Aiza datang je terus saya macam alhamdulillah.
Saya kan terpaksa move a few things sebab betul-betul nak buat, tapi saya minta maaf tadi pun termasuk lambat because I was wrapping up a call. So I'm so sorry to everybody here.
It's okay, it's okay.
Inshallah.
Azreen, can you help take the picture?
Yes.
Azreen, sekali lah. Buka lagi kamera tu.
My kamera kat bawah sebenarnya, dia dekat keyboard. So dia nampak pelik. Tak apa. Okay. Satu, dua.
I rasa gambar Fazil Zain yang paling hipster sekali. Nampak dia macam wow, very very hipster. Okay.
Satu, dua, tiga. Satu, dua, tiga. Freestyle. Satu, dua, tiga. Yes.
Thank you, Azreen. And thank you everyone for participating. I think I can pass to Iman to conclude the session.
Okay, all right. So of course, without our penaja, our rakan strategic, we wouldn't be able to get here as well. So sekalung penghargaan, of course, first of all to our speakers, Aiza, Azreen, Ahmad, and also Dr. Ahmad, Razman, Abdul, Latiff. Don't forget to follow him on Twitter. I'm sure he'll have more fun content after this. So of course, penghargaan rakan strategic ANSARA Taiping, which is of course our beloved school, MRSM Taiping, TNF Energy Sendirian Berhad, Aman's Media, Outpost Taiping Sendirian Berhad, and also ALKA. Alright, so kepada anda yang terlepas atau ingin menonton semula sesi perkongsian ini, boleh berbuat demikian di Facebook ANSARA Cawangan Taiping ataupun YouTube ANSARA TEPEN. Of course, within that channel, you can also watch a lot of other great content that we have produced. And also don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow us also on Instagram and Twitter under the handle of @ANSARA. And, there's so many ands. To all alumni MRSM Taiping who have not daftar dengan sebagai ahli ANSARA Taiping, you can just, it's very easy. You can just go to the portal, www.myansara.org, to just, daftar. It's only 50 ringgit. It's very little actually. And it will bring you a lifetime of benefits. So before we bersurai, kita tutup majlis ini dengan tasbih kifarah dan suratul as. Okay, sekian daripada kami, Iman dan Fazlan. Jangan lupa Siri kita yang seterusnya pada minggu hadapan, hari Jumaat, waktu yang sama tetapi topik yang berbeza. Ingat, patuhi SOP, jaga diri dan selamat malam.
Thank you semua.